He told Charlie Atkins that he liked it, and the old man told us, you probably should start looking for somebody because he's not going to straighten this out.
We finally had to say, okay, Will, we got to keep working, which was a really trying period because we came from nowhere to this, and we were just beginning to tap the surface.
It seemed the OJs weren't as close as fans thought, because apparently the members couldn't stand William Powell. Why? It all started with Powell's battle with heroin addiction. His drug use made him miss shows.
Didn't know what was wrong with it because this was a 360. This was not the person that we grew up with, that we came out of Canton with.
Which hurt the group's live performances and damaged their reputation. From there, things only got worse. His addiction caused so much tension that the other members pretty much erased him. They stopped mentioning him in interviews and didn't give him credit for his role. Powell's troubles continued when he got into a bad accident, was later diagnosed with cancer, got replaced, and eventually passed away.
I remember when he went to the doctor and he came back and he acted like nothing had happened. He didn't tell us anything. And then finally, it came out that he had cancer.
Let's dive in. Now, William Powell was one of the founding members of the Soul Group. He had a strong voice and helped create the group's unique sound. Many fans loved his singing, and he played a big part in the group's early success. But behind the scenes, William was fighting a serious problem. In the mid-1970s, he became addicted to heroin. This drug addiction slowly started to take over his life and hurt his music career.
Will was heavily into drugs. We hid it as best we could. Eddie and I did some dates without him.
At first, people around him didn't know how bad the problem was, but soon it became clear that something was wrong. William began missing important performances. The group had live shows planned, but sometimes he didn't show up or couldn't sing well because of the drugs. This caused a lot of trouble for the OJs. Fans were disappointed when William wasn't there, and people in the music world started to notice the group's struggles. The band's reputation started to go down, and it was harder for them to keep up their success. Everyone around William wanted to help him, but it was not easy.
He told Charlie Atkins that he liked it, and the old man told us, you probably should start looking for somebody because he's not going to straighten this out.
The other group members, the managers, and even close friends tried to talk to William. They told him that he needed to stop using heroin before it destroyed his life and career. Some people begged him to go to rehab or get help. Sadly, their efforts didn't work. Heroin is a very powerful drug, and William couldn't break free from it. He kept using it, and it made his performances worse over time. His health also started to get bad. The drug was taking a heavy toll on his body and mind. William could no longer sing with the same energy and joy he once had. His addiction slowly pulled him away from the spotlight.
Didn't know what was wrong with it because this was a 360. This was not the person that we grew up with, that we came out of Canton with.
Even though he was struggling, William's talent never disappeared. He was still the same person who helped make the OJs famous. One of their most popular songs, Backstabbers, had his voice on it.
All the time they want to take your place, the backstabbers.
Fans still remember his part in that hit. But over the years, William's name started to be forgotten. When people talked about the OJs, they mostly talked about Eddie Levert and Walter Williams. These two men were also founding members of the group, but they continued performing after William had to leave.
We finally had to say, okay, Will, we got to keep working, which was a really trying period because we came from nowhere to this, and we were just beginning to tap the surface.
What made things worse was that Eddie and Walter didn't talk much about William in their interviews. They rarely mentioned his name or the role he played in their success. Some people believe they should have honored William more, especially because he helped build the group in the beginning. Fans and family members felt sad about this, They believed William deserved more credit for his hard work and talent. They thought his memory should have been kept alive in the group's story. Many people say that William Powell was one of the reasons the OJs became great in the first place. But sadly, William never got to enjoy his success. In 1975, something terrible happened. William was in a bad car accident. He had serious injuries and was in pain. While he was recovering, doctors gave him even worse news. They told him he had colon cancer. This kind of cancer is very dangerous.
I remember when he went to the doctor, and he came back and he acted like nothing had happened. He didn't tell us anything. And then finally, it came out that he had cancer.
Even though he was sick, William kept recording music for a while. He didn't give up easily, but his health kept getting worse. Soon, he could not perform anymore. The group replaced him with another singer named Sammy Strain. William passed away in 1977 at just 35 years old. He died while the OJs were still very successful. It was a very sad time for his family and fans.
I was so crushed, man. When we had to get a replacement for him, it was very hard. Very hard time.
After William died, his mother, Lenora Goins, was in charge of his estate. That means she had to handle all the money and property he left behind. At first, she got $68,000 from the record company, Philadelphia International Records, PIR. This money was supposed to be an advance, meaning there would be more payments later. PIR also promised to open an account to hold future earnings for William's estate. But after Lenora died 2 years later, the money stopped coming. The estate was closed, and the family didn't get anything else. It was like William's work and music were forgotten. The record company said they didn't know who to send the money to. But the family's lawyer, Andrew Goldwasser, said the company could have just written to the court to find out. Years passed, and William's sisters, Jean and Movita, never heard anything about the estate. Jean worked as a house cleaner to take care of her 3 kids. She didn't have a lot of money. Her life was tough. She also became very sick in the 1980s. Doctors found a brain tumor in her. Later, she had a stroke because of a bad surgery. Since then, she lived on disability checks. Movita, her sister, also had a hard life. Her daughter got cancer and the family needed money to help pay for her care. They were struggling but never expected anything from the estate anymore. They thought that chapter was closed. Then, something surprising happened. In December 2004, almost 30 years after William died, Jean got a phone call. The caller said he worked for PIR and told her that her brother's estate was still owed money. At first, Jean thought it was a prank or a joke. It didn't seem real. So many years had passed. Why would someone call now? Jean asked the man to send her proof in writing. She didn't believe it until she saw something official. Soon after, PIR's lawyer, Philip Asbury, sent a letter. He said that William's estate was owed a substantial amount of money. Jean and Movita were shocked, but things didn't go well after that. The record company suddenly stopped talking. Jean and Movita didn't get any money. Their lawyer kept asking PIR why they weren't paying, but the company wouldn't give a straight answer. It was very confusing and painful. The family felt like they were being teased with hope, only to be ignored again. Years later, when Jean got the letter, her son, Armstrong, said it brought back many feelings. It reminded them of the pain of losing William. It was emotional to think about all he had done and how he was still not given what he deserved. Their lawyer, Goldwasser, contacted PIR again. Goldwasser finally filed a lawsuit. Soon after that, PIR admitted they owed more than $400,000 to William's estate. But when an accountant looked deeper, they found out it was more than $1 million. That was a huge amount. It meant that PR had held on to William's money for all those years without telling anyone. Worse, they only opened the special account in 2004, right when they were being sued by the other OJ's members. Even when they opened the account, they only put small amounts into it. After the family filed the lawsuit, PIR closed the account again. Armstrong said it didn't make sense. Why would PIR write a letter saying the money was there, then refuse to give it to them? It felt unfair and dishonest. They had raised the family's hopes and then shut them out again. Now let's talk about Philadelphia International Records. They were once a big name in the music world. They were behind many famous artists, like the O'Jays and Billy Paul.
Lord, now, let the folks in. I wanna see my twin. Let the folks in. We gonna sit in my den.
The label made a lot of money from hit songs and albums, but behind the scenes, things were not fair for the artists. Many of them said they did not get the money they earned. Over the years, several artists took the company to court because they felt cheated. These artists said the label kept the money that was supposed to be paid to them. One of the biggest cases was about Billy Paul. He was best known for his hit song, Me and Mrs. Jones.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
That song was loved by many people and made a lot of money, but Billy Paul said he never got his fair share of the profits. He believed the label took his money and never paid him what they promised. Billy Paul did not give up. He fought for many years to get what he was owed. In the end, the court agreed with him. He won a $500,000 settlement. Billy Paul's case was not the only one. Other artists also had problems with the label. The O'Jays had members who said the same thing. They worked hard, made hit songs, and helped the label become famous, but they did not always get paid for their work. One member, Sammy Strain, had a very serious case. Sammy Strain joined the O'Jays after Powell became sick. Strain sang with the group for 16 years. That's a long time to work with a band. During those years, the O'Jays were still making music and performing. Strain helped keep the group strong. But Sammy Strain said he never got the money he deserved. He believed the label made millions, but did not pay him his share. So he filed a lawsuit for $15 million. That is a lot of money, but Strain believed it was fair because of how much he contributed. He said he gave his time, his voice, and his heart to the group, but the label never thanked him the right way. This showed how many artists worked hard for years but were left with little in return. Fast forward to recent times. Eddie and Walter Williams sued for $3 million from Philadelphia International Records, and some other people. They say these folks broke a deal and are still cheating them out of royalties. Here's what happened. Back in April 2004, Levert and Williams took the record label to court. They were upset because the label was planning to release an album called Together We Are One. This album included songs they had recorded in the 1980s but decided not to release. The O'Jays said the songs were old and not good enough. They felt the release would damage their reputation and make it harder for them to perform and tour. At first, the court stopped the record label from putting out the album, but later, a judge said the label had the right to release the songs. Why? Because of a contract the O'Jays signed in 1979, which gave the label full control over the music. In 2006, Levert and Williams made an agreement with the label to settle the case, but now they say the label isn't following the deal. They claim the company hasn't paid them what they owe or even explained where the money went. On top of that, the O'Jays say the label kept $47,000, claiming it was for legal bills in a different case. The O'Jays at one point had a chance to join Motown's Invictus Records. Joining this label could have given the O'Jays a bigger stage and maybe more fame, but they said no to the offer. The group stayed loyal to the people who helped them when they were starting out. Producers Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff.
Gamble and Huff, a miracle that we met. And I'm very fortunate to be able to stand here today with my partner of over 45 years that we've been working together.
The O'Jays believed in Gamble and Huff. They had worked with them for a long time and trusted their vision for the music. Even though Motown had more power, more money, and more reach, the O'Jays felt it was right to stay with the ones who believed in them from the beginning. At that time, many people thought it was a strange choice. They wondered why the group would walk away from such a big chance. But the OJs stayed firm. They wanted to grow their music with the people they knew, not start over somewhere else. By staying with Gamble and Huff, the OJs created a different kind of sound. It was a mix of smooth vocals, deep messages, and rich music. They helped build what many called the Philly soul sound. This sound was full of feeling and had messages about love, pain, and life. It may not have reached as many people as Motown's hits, but it was strong and real. The OJs had songs like Love Train, and Backstabbers, which showed both fun and truth.
All the time they wanna take your place, the backstabbers.
Still, some believed that if they had gone with Motown, they could have become even bigger stars. But the group never showed regret. They believed in the road they chose and the music they made. Later, some problems started to show up. Even though Gamble and Huff made great music, they were not very good at handling money and contracts. There were also rumors of Powell being assaulted and robbed one night. This happened after he left an after-hours club in Cleveland. An after-hours club is a place that stays open late at night, even after regular clubs close. Some people said he was walking alone when it happened. Others said he was followed from the club. No one knew the full story, but many believe something bad really did happen that night. The rumor said Powell was attacked by more than one person. They said he was hit hard and his money and things were stolen. Some said he didn't go to the police because he was too scared or embarrassed. Others thought he didn't trust the police to help. He may have been in a lot of pain after the attack, both in his body and in his heart. Some people said his face was bruised and swollen after the night at the club. This made his life even harder than before. While the group continued to do well and make music, Walter Williams had his own health battle to face years later. In 2009, Walter started feeling pain that wouldn't go away. It became hard for him to walk and move around like he used to. His legs would hurt, and sometimes he couldn't stand for long periods. This was very hard for Walter because he had always been active on stage. He was known for dancing and moving with a lot of energy during performances. After going to the doctor and doing some tests, he found out he had a serious problem called spinal stenosis. This sickness affects the spine and puts pressure on the nerves, making it painful and difficult to move. This was very bad news for someone like Walter, whose job depended on his movement and energy. It was heartbreaking for him, but instead of giving up, Walter decided to fight. He took a break from performing in 2010 to work on getting better. During this time, he focused on therapy and medical treatments. He worked closely with doctors and therapists to improve his condition. His bandmates and fans were very supportive. They sent him messages, visited him, and prayed for him. Their love helped him stay strong and hopeful. By 2012, Walter made it back to the stage. He still had to be careful and make some changes to how he performed, but he was happy to sing again. While Walter was going through his health battle, Eddie Levert was facing something even more painful. Eddie lost 2 of his sons, which broke his heart. In 2006, Eddie's oldest son, Gerald Levert, died suddenly.
Devastating. That was my best friend. So that was my guy. I'm in high school and the kid about to fight me. I'm gonna call my dad and he's like, snatch his chain.
Gerald was a famous R&B singer, just like his father. He had his own group called Levert, and he also sang with Keith Sweat and Johnny Gill in the group LSG. Gerald was only 40 years old when he died. His death shocked fans and deeply hurt his family. Then, only 2 years later in 2008, Eddie's younger son, Sean Levert, also passed away.
The family of R&B singer Sean Levert wants the FBI to look into his death. The 39-year-old Levert, who formed the band Levert with his older brother Gerald in the 1980s, died on March 30th.
Sean was just 39 years old. Losing 2 sons so close together was more than anyone could bear. Eddie felt lost and broken inside. He often spoke in interviews about how hard it was to understand why this happened. In 2011, Eddie shared how the pain never really went away. He said, "I wish I could tell you that I had a sense of why, but I don't." He wondered if there was anything he could have done to save them. The sadness stayed with him every day.
It still hurts, man. It's still, it's still.
Even though it was hard, Eddie did not let the pain destroy him. He found strength in his faith. He said that praying and reading the Bible helped him a lot. He often talked about the story of Job from the Bible, a man who lost everything but still kept his faith in God. Eddie said he cried many nights like a baby, but he believed that God gave him strength to keep going. "I kept praying to God, and God kept giving me strength," he said. He believed he still had a purpose in life, and that helped him move forward.
I still carry it, man. Do you understand? It's still my cross to bear.
Sadly, in December 2024, the Levert family faced more heartbreak. Eddie's youngest daughter, Ryan, passed away after fighting a sickness called lupus. Lupus is a disease where the body attacks itself. It causes pain, tiredness, and other serious problems. Ryan fought hard, but her body could not take it anymore. Eddie once again faced deep sadness, but just like before, he leaned on his faith and the love of his family and fans to stay strong. Through all his pain, Eddie kept going, showing great strength and love.
Because I use humor a lot, even when I'm sick and stuff. And I just think that's the best way to get through it.
Let's briefly look at the OJ's journey in music. When they released a song called Backstabbers, it became their first song to sell over 1 million copies. This song came from an album that also had more hit songs like 992 Arguments,
There is a total of 992.
Sunshine,
My sunshine.
and Time to Get Down.
Come on, baby. It's time to get down. It's time to get down.
But the biggest hit of all was Love Train.
Start a love train. Love train. Come on, join.
That song became very popular all over the country and even hit #1 on the pop chart. The OJs were no longer thinking about quitting. They were now one of the biggest groups in R&B music. During the rest of the 1970s, the OJs kept giving their fans more hit songs. Some of those songs were Put Your Hands Together, which became a top 10 pop hit, and For the Love of Money, which also made it into the top 10. People loved their sound. They also made songs like Give the People What They Want,
You got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Let Me Make Love to You,
Let me make love to you, baby.
I Love Music,
I love music. Any kind of music.
Livin' for the Weekend,
Yeah. Living for the weekend.
and Darlin' Darlin' Baby.
Ooh, you're my darling, darling baby.
In 1978, they had one more top 5 hit with a song called Used to Be My Girl.
She used to be my girl.
After that, they still made music and stayed popular on the R&B charts, but they did not have the same success on the pop charts. Still, they kept going strong for their fans. Even outside the United States, people loved their music. In the United Kingdom, they had 9 songs on the music charts from 1972 to 1983. 4 of those songs became big hits. In 1987, they released an album called Let Me Touch You, which had a #1 R&B hit named Lovin' You. That song showed they still had talent and could touch people's hearts. But after that, they never really returned to the top of the pop charts again. During the late 1990s, the OJs did not do much recording. However, they continued to perform and kept their name alive. On October 30th, 2010, the group performed at a big event in Washington, D.C. called the Rally to Restore Sanity and/or Fear. It was a proud moment for them. On August 17th, 2013, something special happened in their hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. The OJs were honored and placed in the National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame.